The rain had just begun to fall when Obama Traore knelt in the mud, his expensive suit soaked through, his hands bound by cold metal chains. Before him lay a simple mound of earth marked only by a wooden cross. And as the guards stood watching, this man who once commanded boardrooms across Africa wept like a child. The grave belonged to his mother, Mama Blessing, and he would never hear her voice again. But to understand how a billionaire tech mogul ended up begging forgiveness at his mother's grave, we must go back to where it all began. This is a story about the price of pride, the cost of denial, and the weight of words left unspoken. Before we continue, if stories of family, redemption, and the consequences of our choices move you, please subscribe to our channel and ring the notification bell. Trust me, what unfolds will change how you see success forever. 3 years earlier, Obama Traore sat in the back of his latest acquisition, a pristine white Mercedes G-Wagon that cost more than most people's homes. Beside him, Sophia adjusted her designer sunglasses and smiled, her engagement ring catching the afternoon sun. They were driving through the rural areas outside Bamenda, taking a shortcut to a luxury resort where Obama planned to finalize their wedding arrangements. The road was rough, nothing like the smooth highways of the capital where Obama had built his empire. Each bump reminded him of a past he'd spent 15 years trying to forget. Obama had grown up in these villages, in a small compound where electricity was a luxury and running water was a dream. But that was before he became Obama Traore, tech innovator, youngest billionaire in the country, the man whose face graced magazine covers. As they rounded a bend, Obama saw her. An elderly woman struggled along the roadside, bent under the weight of a massive bundle of firewood. Her wrapper was faded, her feet bare despite the rocky path. Something about her gait, the way she shifted the load on her back, made Obama's heart skip. Then she turned, and their eyes met. Mama Blessing dropped her firewood, her weathered hands flying to her mouth. After 7 years of silence, 7 years of unanswered letters and unreturned calls, her son sat before her in unimaginable luxury. She stumbled forward, tears already streaming down her face, calling out in their native dialect, calling him by the pet name she'd given him as a baby. Obama's jaw tightened. Sophia leaned forward, concern in her voice, asking if they should stop to help the poor woman. But Obama's response was ice. He told the driver to keep moving, told Sophia the woman was confused, probably mentally ill, mistaking him for someone else. As the car pulled away, Mama Blessing stood in the road, her firewood scattered, watching her only child disappear once again. Sophia turned in her seat, watching the elderly woman grow smaller in the distance. She asked Obama if he was sure they shouldn't help, mentioned how the woman seemed to know him. Obama's voice grew sharp. He reminded Sophia they were already late, that they couldn't stop for every beggar on the road. But his hands trembled as he spoke, and he couldn't meet Sophia's questioning gaze. The truth Obama hid was a story of sacrifice and shame. 28 years ago, Mama Blessing had buried her husband, leaving her alone with an 8-year-old boy and dreams bigger than their circumstances. She had worked her fingers raw, selling vegetables in the market, washing clothes for wealthier families, doing whatever it took to keep Obama in school. When he showed promise in mathematics and science, she sold her only piece of jewelry, her late husband's family ring, to buy him textbooks. Every morning before dawn, Mama Blessing would wake to prepare Obama's uniform, pressing it with a charcoal iron until it looked as good as the rich children's clothes. She would give him her portion of breakfast, claiming she wasn't hungry, though her stomach growled through the morning market hustle. When Obama won a scholarship to a prestigious boarding school in the city, Mama Blessing walked 8 miles to the post office every week to send him small amounts of money, often going without meals to ensure he had pocket money like his classmates. Obama excelled in the city. He discovered computers, technology, a world beyond the village. His teachers praised his brilliance, and soon he was accepted into university on a full scholarship. Mama Blessing cried tears of joy the day he left, pressing a small pouch into his hands containing her savings, the equivalent of $50, but to her, a fortune. In university, Obama met people who spoke differently, dressed differently, came from worlds where poverty was abstract. He began to change his accent, his mannerisms, crafting a new identity. When classmates asked about his family, he invented stories. His father was a businessman who died tragically. His mother had passed when he was young. The lies came easier each time. After graduation, Obama's tech startup caught the attention of international investors. Within 3 years, he was managing millions. He changed his phone number, moved to exclusive neighborhoods, and when Mama Blessing somehow got his new contact through a relative, he blocked it. The village boy was dead. Only Obama Traore, tech mogul, remained. Back in the Mercedes, Sophia remained quiet, but Obama could feel her studying him. As they arrived at the resort, she finally spoke, mentioning how strange it was that the woman knew his childhood name. Obama laughed it off, but the sound was hollow. That night, as they sampled wedding cakes and discussed floral arrangements, his mind kept returning to his mother's face. The way her eyes had lit up with recognition and hope, before dimming with rejection. 2 months later, their wedding was the event of the year. 500 guests gathered at the Meridian Grand Hotel, where crystal chandeliers cast rainbow patterns on designer gowns and tailored suits. Cabinet ministers rubbed shoulders with tech entrepreneurs, and photographers from society magazines captured every moment. Sophia looked radiant in her imported dress, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. During the reception, she asked Obama once more about his family. Where were his relatives, his cousins, anyone from his past? Obama's prepared story flowed smoothly. Orphaned, young, no extended family, built himself from nothing. Sophia wanted to believe him, but doubt had taken root since that day on the rural road. In the village, Mama Blessing sat under the mango tree where Obama used to study as a child. Neighbors had told her about the wedding, shown her pictures from social media of her son in his white tuxedo, smiling beside his beautiful bride. She held a photograph of young Obama, taken the day he left for university, and traced his face with a trembling finger. That night, as wedding guests danced in the Capitol, Mama Blessing knelt in her small room. Her prayer wasn't vengeful but filled with pain. She asked God why her sacrifices meant nothing, why the child she gave everything for could look through her as if she were a stranger. She prayed that Obama would understand someday the weight of love rejected, the sting of being denied by the one person you gave your life to protect. The newlyweds honeymooned in Dubai, posting pictures of their happiness while Mama Blessing continued her routine. Fetching water before dawn, gathering firewood, selling vegetables in the market. But something in her had broken. The light that used to shine when someone mentioned her successful son dimmed. When asked about Obama, she would simply say, God knew best, and change the subject. 3 months after the wedding, Obama's world began to crumble. It started with a routine audit that uncovered discrepancies. Then came more investigations, revealing forged documents, shell companies, a web of financial crimes Obama swore he knew nothing about. The arrest happened at his office, in front of his employees, cameras capturing the mighty Obama Traore in handcuffs. The trial was swift and merciless. Despite his protests of innocence, despite the expensive lawyers Sophia hired with their savings, the evidence seemed ironclad. The judge, known for his harsh sentences on white-collar crime, handed down 15 years. Obama's legs buckled as the verdict was read. This couldn't be happening. He had enemies, yes, but this level of frame-up seemed impossible. Prison stripped away everything that made Obama feel superior. His designer clothes were replaced with rough uniforms. His manicured hands now did manual labor. His carefully cultivated accent meant nothing to hardened criminals who saw through facades instantly. At night, lying on a thin mattress, he thought about Mama Blessing for the first time in years. The dreams began in his second month. Mama Blessing would appear, not angry but sad, asking why he had thrown away her love. Obama would wake gasping, the cell walls feeling closer each time. He began to understand that there were different kinds of prisons, some made of concrete and steel, others built from pride and lies. Sophia visited weekly, her loyalty unwavering despite friends advising her to leave. During one visit, Obama broke completely. Through tears, he confessed everything. His real background, his mother in the village, the day he denied her on the road. He begged Sophia to find Mama Blessing, to tell her he was sorry, that pride had blinded him to the only pure love he'd ever known. Sophia's journey to the village took 2 days. The roads grew rougher as she left the city behind. and she began to understand the world Obama had rejected. When she finally reached the compound, neighbors gathered, suspicious of the well-dressed stranger. When she asked for Mama Blessing, their faces fell. An elderly woman led Sophia to a small cemetery at the village edge. There, under a simple wooden marker, lay Mama Blessing. She had died 6 months prior, alone and sick, still hoping her son would return. The woman explained how Mama Blessing had fallen ill after Obama's wedding, how she'd refused to burden anyone, how she'd died calling Obama's name. Sophia knelt at the grave, tears falling for the mother-in-law she'd never meet, for the relationship Obama had destroyed, for the reconciliation that would never happen. She gathered stories from the villagers, how Mama Blessing had saved every newspaper clipping about Obama, how she'd defended him even after his denial, how she'd loved him until her final breath. When Sophia returned to tell Obama, he collapsed in the visiting room. The guards had to carry him back to his cell, where he refused food for days. The news that his mother had died without forgiveness, without one last embrace, shattered something fundamental in him. Success meant nothing. Wealth was worthless. He would trade everything for 5 minutes with Mama Blessing. The prison chaplain noticed Obama's despair and began visiting. Slowly, Obama opened up about his guilt. The chaplain arranged a special permission. Obama could visit his mother's grave, though he would go in chains. The journey back to the village he'd rejected was the longest of his life. The villagers gathered as the prison van arrived. Some whispered about karma, others about the prodigal son who returned too late. Elder Taiwo, who had known Obama since birth, led him to the cemetery. The chains rattled with each step, a metallic reminder of how far he'd fallen. At the grave, Obama fell to his knees. The words poured out: apologies, regrets, memories of her sacrifices he'd tried to forget. He begged for forgiveness from soil and stone, knowing no answer would come. Elder Taiwo watched, then spoke words that would haunt Obama forever. Mama Blessing had forgiven him long ago, the elder said, but forgiveness doesn't restore lost time or unspoken words. As rain began to fall, mixing with Obama's tears, he understood the full weight of his choices. Every designer suit had cost him a moment with his mother. Every lie about his background had driven the wedge deeper. Every ignored call had been a nail in the coffin of their relationship. The villagers dispersed, leaving Obama alone with his grief and the guards who would take him back to prison. 2 years into his sentence, new evidence emerged. A rival tech entrepreneur, jealous of Obama's rapid success, had orchestrated the entire frame-up. Documents were forged, witnesses were paid, and an innocent man was imprisoned. The appeals court overturned the conviction, and Obama was released after serving 3 years for crimes he didn't commit. But freedom felt hollow. Obama returned to an empty house. Sophia had maintained it, kept his business affairs in order, but their marriage was broken. She met him with divorce papers, explaining that while she could forgive his lies, she couldn't build a future with someone capable of denying his own mother. The man she'd fallen in love with wouldn't have been so cruel. She didn't know who Obama really was anymore. Obama didn't fight the divorce. He signed the papers, understanding that some consequences couldn't be avoided. Sophia left with tears in her eyes but resolve in her heart. She'd loved him through prison, through scandal, but learning about his treatment of Mama Blessing had broken something irreparable. The tech world welcomed Obama back cautiously. His innocence was proven, but whispers followed him. He rebuilt slowly, but his heart wasn't in it anymore. The drive for success that had consumed him felt meaningless. He sold his shares, downsized his life, and started a foundation for rural education, naming it after Mama Blessing. Every Sunday, Obama visited the grave. He brought flowers, cleared weeds, and talked to his mother as he should have when she was alive. He told her about his week, his struggles, his small victories in helping village children access education. The cemetery became his sanctuary, the only place where pretense fell away. A year after his release, Obama was driving through the city when he saw her. An elderly woman struggled with heavy shopping bags in the rain. Without hesitation, he stopped, helped her load the bags into his car, and drove her home. She reminded him of Mama Blessing, the same dignified poverty, the same weary strength. As she thanked him, calling him my son in the way of elderly women. Obama's eyes filled with tears. This became his pattern, helping elderly women with their loads, supporting single mothers, funding village students. He couldn't bring Mama Blessing back, but he could honor her memory through service. Each act of kindness was an apology to the universe, a small payment on a debt that could never be fully settled. The business community noticed Obama's transformation. The ruthless entrepreneur had become a philanthropist. The man who once denied his roots now embraced them fully. But Obama knew the truth. He wasn't transformed. He was broken and rebuilt. The pieces didn't fit the same way. Where pride once lived, regret had taken residence. 5 years after Mama Blessing's death, Obama stood at her grave on a quiet morning. The wooden marker had been replaced with proper stone, engraved with words of love and remembrance. He'd achieved more than young Obama had ever dreamed, but the one person he wanted to share it with was gone. Success without family to celebrate, with tastes like ash. As he knelt to place fresh flowers, a young woman approached. She was a scholarship recipient from his foundation, come to pay respects to the woman the scholarship was named after. She thanked Obama for changing her life, for giving her opportunities Mama Blessing never had. As she spoke about her own mother's sacrifices, Obama saw the cycle continuing. Love given freely, sacrifice made gladly, the hope that children would do better. That evening, Obama sat in his modest apartment, so different from the mansion he once owned. On the table sat a photograph Sophia had found in the village. Mama Blessing on his university graduation day, her face glowing with pride. He'd been too ashamed to let her attend the actual ceremony, but she'd traveled to the city anyway, watching from afar, loving him despite his rejection. The photo was faded now, but Mama Blessing's smile remained bright. Obama traced her face, wondering what might have been if pride hadn't blinded him. Would she have loved Sophia? Would she have held grandchildren? Would her final years have been comfortable instead of struggling? The questions tortured him, but he'd learned to live with the pain. It was his to carry. As night fell, Obama prepared for bed in his simple room. Tomorrow he would visit more schools, help more elderly women, try to balance the scales that could never truly be balanced. He'd learned that redemption isn't a destination, but a journey, one step at a time, one kindness at a time, one day at a time. The man who once denied his mother now saw her in every struggling woman, every sacrifice made for a child's future, every act of love that expected nothing in return. Obama Traore, former billionaire, had gained something worth more than money, the understanding of what he'd lost and the determination to ensure others didn't repeat his mistakes. But the grave remained silent, and forgiveness from the living couldn't replace the words he'd never hear from the dead. In denying Mama Blessing, Obama had denied himself the greatest wealth of all, a mother's love, freely given, irreplaceable when gone. The rain that had started during our story returns now, falling gently on a village cemetery where a successful son kneels at his mother's grave, finally understanding that some bridges, once burned, can never be rebuilt. Some words left unspoken echo forever in the silence they create. This story isn't just about Obama Traore. It's about every child who's felt ashamed of where they came from, every parent whose love was rejected, every moment we choose pride over connection. As you go about your day tomorrow, remember Mama Blessing. Remember that the people who love us won't always be there, waiting for us to overcome our shame. Time is the one currency we can't earn back. If this story touched your heart, if it made you think about someone you need to call, someone you need to thank, someone you need to ask for forgiveness, please subscribe to our channel. Share this story with others who need to hear it. Ring the notification bell because every week we bring you real, powerful stories that remind us what truly matters. And do one more thing. After you subscribe, pick up your phone. Call your mother, your father, that relative who sacrificed for you. Tell them you love them. Tell them you're grateful. Tell them while you still can. Because unlike Obama Traore, you still have time. Don't waste it. Thank you for watching. Until next time, remember, success means nothing if we lose ourselves achieving it. The greatest tragedy isn't failing to become rich or famous. The greatest tragedy is succeeding while failing the people who loved us first, loved us most, loved us anyway. Don't let pride rob you of love. Don't let shame steal your relationships. And never, ever be too successful to acknowledge where you came from. Subscribe now, and let's continue this journey together. Your story doesn't have to end like Obama's. You still have time to write a better ending.